Welcome to Voices from the Bench, a dental laboratory podcast. Send us an email at info@voicesfromthebench.com or look for us on Facebook at Voices from the Bench. Greetings and welcome to episode 238 of Voices from the Bench. My name is Elvis.
And my name is Barbara. Hello.
What's happening, Barb? How are you this week?
Great. I am fantastic.
Yeah?
I am. I'm good. What's happening?
Well, I was wondering, since you are a CDT, did you get the latest JDT magazine?
Oh, yes, I did. There's a couple things. One of them is that we won the WOW Awards, and the race is in there.
Did they have a thing about the race? I didn't see that part.
Yeah, of course you didn't see that.
I might have gone to just a certain section. Pictures of you racing, I hope?
Possibly.
Is that meaning you don't want people to go check it out so they can see it, or?
No, let's just keep the focus on our voices. Come on.
So it's out now.
Yep.
Barb and I are honored and pleased to be picked as one of the 2022 WOW products and services.
Wow.
Every year, anyone can submit a product and a service that's in our industry, and then a team votes on what makes the list. So usually it's, I don't know, fancy zirconia, a new milling machine, or heck, even a company that mills gold. But this year, there's also a podcast. I guess we're considered a service?
Of course we're considered a service.
We're not a product.
We're a service.
We're a service. We are servicing the listening audience.
Yes,
so a big
are.
thank you to JDT and everyone involved with the selection. It's truly an honor just for people to listen, let alone win a WOW award.
I like how you say wow. It's like wow, wow, wow.
When people say, Voices from the Bench, wow! Can't believe you said that, is usually what I hear. So this week, we are in for a super duper treat. Next year in Maine, there is a live patient course dealing with proper technique to get the best results when working with removables. So you might be wondering, why are we talking about an event that's almost a whole year off? Well, that's because our good friend and multi-episode guest, Jeremiah Naas, is bringing over a well-known prosthetic expert from England to teach this course.
So fantastic.
It's
Love
awesome.
It. Yep.
Finlay Sutton trained to be a dentist. Finding out that he preferred working with removables, built up a reputation for being the guy that could do a denture when no one else could. Jeremiah is a dental technician turned denturist with a want to become better at what he does. So Finlay comes on to talk about some of the tricky cases he has seen in his career and how he goes about treating them. Jeremiah lays down what we can expect at the upcoming event that's limited to only 30 people, and together they talk about what they hope to accomplish by teaching other clinicians, and maybe a few technicians, how much better removables can be if it's done correctly from the beginning.
True to that.
Even if you don't have any interest in taking this course, there is a lot of good information shared between these two smart and intelligent removable gurus. So please join us as we welcome back Jeremiah Naas, and for the first time we welcome Finlay Sutton. You know, Barb, the holidays are just around the corner.
I know, Elvis, don't remind me. We've got gifts, vacation, celebration, food, and God, it gets so expensive.
Heck yeah, it's expensive, extremely in this economy. Have you ever thought about turning in your alloy scrap from the lab?
Well, I'll be. Who has scrap anymore? Everything is mostly zirconia these days, right?
True. But just look on how high the price of precious metals are.
Oh, yeah.
Record highs. Off the charts. Of course, you are using less precious metals these days, but if you turn in half of what you sent in 5 years ago, you will get more now than you got 5 years ago. Half! Can you believe that?
Yeah, I can actually. That's amazing.
Of course, this is all if you use a trusted, reputable refining company.
Well, I can say this, and I know this for sure. The only company I know that has been tested, trusted, and reputable for over 100 years. 100 years is Kulzer. They burn, melt, and assay all under one roof in their state-of-the-art refining facility in Wartburg, Tennessee.
You know, they've actually doubled their production capacity to ensure that you get your payout within 2 weeks.
That's quick.
That's plenty of time to have your money before the holidays.
I've got a question, though. How much of the value will we get?
Well, the most of any company. Think about it. Their reimbursement to you is everything. Everything that you turn in, all they take is a 10% refining fee.
Wow.
There are 0 additional fees. Kulzer Refining will also send you a free container to ship it in, a prepaid fully insured UPS label, everything you need to get started. Just head over to mydental360.com/refining or call our good friend, the Director of Precious Metal Refining, Tony Circelli, at 914-906-1843.
Well, I can tell you this. As soon as we're done, I'm going to ask somebody to collect all the vacuum bags, floor sweeps, miscasts, and spills from all over the lab so that we can get the best scrap return in the industry with Kulzer Refining.
Well, just because I know that you listen to the podcast, all you got to do is mention or note Voices from the Bench when you're turning in your scrap, and Kulzer Refining will add an additional 5%.
Wow. That's a lot.
To your value. Isn't that huge?
Yeah.
Just think of the gifts you could buy and send to us at the podcast. It's amazing. And we appreciate your support of the podcast, Kulzer Refining, that is always tested, trusted, and honest. Voices from the Bench. The interview. We'd like to welcome to the podcast 2 gentlemen that actually are putting on quite a program next year, I believe. But we're welcoming back past podcast guest and good friend, Jeremiah Naas. How are you, sir?
Doing wonderful. Thank you for having me back.
Absolutely. What's this, like your 3rd, 4th time?
I don't know. Too many times.
Yeah, too many times. So, Jeremiah, you're up in Maine. You became a denturist. I'll put links to all your old episodes because I think we follow your whole path to denturism.
We totally did. Yep.
I think we talked to you when you were like thinking about it. Then we talked to you while you're doing it. And then I think we've actually talked to you since.
Yep.
But you're up in Maine doing the denturist thing. And then you announced this great program you're putting on next year. And you're bringing in a gentleman from the UK, Finlay Sutton. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you, and it's fantastic to be here.
Good to have you.
So, Jeremiah, we know your story. We know where you come from. Old news, sir. But Finlay, let's hear your story.
So what do you want to know?
How did you get started? How did you become known as an expert in removable prosthetics in the UK?
Okay. Well, I qualified as a dentist in 1993 and I spent 6 years in general practice and I really hated it. I think I felt really unprepared for doing good quality dentistry. And I just had a real problem when I had patients that come in and I'd just not make them happy. So it was all aspects of prosthodontics. It wasn't just dentures. It would be like crowns and bridges. People maybe wouldn't be happy with the appearance of something. And I just really struggled with it. And I think during my undergraduate program, I always felt there was a bit of a division between clinicians, dentists, and the lab. So when I was at Sheffield at the dental school, I'd go into the lab and it would be like going onto the workshop floor and I just felt I just didn't know anything. I didn't understand how all this stuff was being made. So it was just a real problem. And so when I went into practice, I was just underprepared. And after about 6 years in general practice, I was almost at the point of giving up, because of needing to, refund people for dentures and doing whatnot.
In 6 years, did you ever make anybody happy? Or
Yeah, most of the time I would be.
okay, good.
So there was too many times where it just did not work.
Yeah.
And so from that point there, I just needed to make a decision, that whether I should continue within dentistry or whether I should actually learn to do it better. So I got in touch with a professor who was a Scottish professor at Manchester Dental Hospital, and he was called Fraser McCord, and he said to me, "Look, Finn, I think I've got the right place for you here. Come and do a master's program in prosthodontics." And it was just the best thing that I'd ever done, and I was able to really learn much more how to, produce really good quality dentures, crowns and bridges. I was working closely with the lab there, but the reason I absolutely loved dentures or became really to enjoy them was that Fraser, he was just brilliant at dentures. Professor McCord was just fantastic, and that was his great love, and that rubbed off on me. So that was like a really, really important milestone, and probably the best professional year I'd ever had up to that point. So this was like in 99 to 2000. So that was one really brilliant aspect. But another really super aspect was that I became really good friends with the chief prosthodontic technician at the dental hospital. He lived really close to me, so we used to car share and drive in, and it was about an hour's drive getting into Manchester. So we would, during that year, sit and discuss cases that we were treating, and it was brilliant. It was the first time I'd worked with a technician where his work just looked really good and it fitted beautifully. So it was just really, it was great. And I've worked with Rowan ever since, from that point onwards. And it was way back then, just over 20 years ago, that we decided to, we thought, right, okay, once I've finished all of my masters and done further specialist training, we'll open a practice up together. We'll get somewhere, a high street practice, and start doing this for real. And it was just really, really good. So I think really it's down to the luck of finding a fantastic technician, actually, that has brought me into dentures.
Did he have to convince you to get into prosthetics, or was this, after your 6 years of, I don't want to say failing, but not doing great, was it hard to convince you to continue?
Not really. I think once I got into doing the master's program and decided to, just stop, I actually stopped working completely and did this full-time master's program. And I paid to do that as well. So I saved up enough money. I moved back in with my mum and dad and then did this master's program. And it was as soon as I started doing that, I knew that it was going to be okay. And I was really cocky, I as well. I thought I knew a lot about dentistry, and Fraser McCord made sure that I really knew that. He told me in no uncertain ways that, Finn, you really do not know what you're doing, and you need to, you need to learn how to do this and get your head, get into the library, get looking at those papers, looking at the textbooks, working it out. So it was actually really exciting to do that, and it was really exciting to meet Rowan, the technician. So no, it didn't take a lot of convincing, but I think it was just the way that Rowan took me on as a person, and he saw that I wanted to learn, and really took me into the lab, said, this is how we do it in here. Bring the case in. I want to see it. I'll come onto the clinic and see the patient with you, and I can meet that person. And it started to really become a really nice sort of thing about helping patients and doing things really well. So it was really good.
How much did you learn in the lab? Was there a lot of lab work at the school? Or was this your real first experience?
When I was an undergraduate, I learned sort of how to make a set of dentures, and we did that. Went through that process, and I think we did a crown and a Maryland bridge. So I sort of knew the basics, but I didn't know about occlusion and about articulators and about recording things properly and taking really good impressions.
Wait a minute, they didn't teach you that in school about taking really good impressions?
No, never did.
Oops.
Not surprising to me.
No, I think, do you know what, Elvis? I think it's just an attitude thing. I don't think it's a reflection on the dental school. I think it's a reflection on me as a person at the time. I was so young. I went into dental school at 18.
Oh, wow.
And so I was qualified by the time I was 22.
Wow. I was still watching cartoons at 22. Wow.
So I was a really good at passing exams, and just doing what was necessary. But I didn't realize that dentistry was a vocation, really. At the end of this, I'll be out there treating patients. I thought once I got the ticket, I'd be absolutely fine at treating patients. But I found for me personally, that just was not the case. So it was really, I think it was just me growing up and getting more mature.
Yeah. What's on paper is definitely not what's going on in the real world.
Totally.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
So what are you doing now?
So what I'm doing now is I have a referral practice in the northwest of England. We're just north of Manchester.
Okay. And
we take referrals for patients from most of the county that I'm in is called Lancashire, and so from Lancashire and also Cumbria, which is just north of us, we take lots of patients from there, and that's the majority of people. And so they're referred in by dentists to me. In the practice, in the dental office, we have a laboratory there as well. So Rowan works in the room next door to me.
Nice.
So at the moment, I do 2 days clinical a week. And Rowan works 4 days clinical. We're just slightly winding down. I'm in my early 50s now, and I've just reduced my clinical time slightly. And so is Rowan. He's 55. So, but the amount of denture work that I generate over 2 days means it keeps Rowan fully employed for those 4 days.
Wow.
In fact, he's probably a bit too busy. So we've had the practice for 15 years, and we've just gradually built up a really, really good reputation. So we get patients referred to us from all over Britain, also Ireland, and I sometimes do get patients from abroad as well. I have had one patient come over to me from Boston, from the USA.
Oh, wow. So when you say you get referrals, so you guys do all of the very, very difficult cases that other dentists just don't have the experience to do?
Exactly. That's it. So they're all generally really tough cases. So, and really interesting, challenging cases. So it's just brilliant. I love it. It was like a dream come true having a practice with a lab in it. I love it.
Yeah.
Because it's the heart of the business, and I absolutely love going through into the lab and just talking with Rowan, discussing cases and seeing what he's doing. It's just fantastic. What also I love as well is that if I'm treating a patient, I can just pop through into the lab with the dentures, adjust them, polish them, without the patient watching me do it.
Yeah.
They don't see me hack loads of plastic off this denture in front of them, thinking it.
Yeah.
But I think it's really good psychologically. It's just great. I love it. And also, the other, I think, brilliant thing is that Rowan can come through into the surgery and actually meet the patient and look in the mouth. And we both have mutual respect for each other, because I understand the limitations that technicians have that Rowan has, I try and push the boundary with him all the time, but he also totally understands and gets it. If I've got a patient who can't open very wide or maybe have a gag reflex issue, so it just works so well. And actually, the biggest thing I'd say that the biggest issue that Rowan has with anything that I do is he always wants more space.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
Sounds like a technician.
Yes.
I need more space, what he always says.
Just open the patient's bike. Come on.
That's right. Yeah, jack him open. It's fine.
So when you think about a difficult case that another doctor has sent to you, like, can you take me through a recent case that makes it difficult and how you treated it?
Yeah, I can. It's just, I'm actually writing up a case at the moment, which I'm going to just post on Facebook tomorrow.
Wow.
And it's patients nowadays quite often take bisphosphonates, and this medication which reduces the potential for osteoporosis.
Mm-hmm.
And if patients take this medication for a long time, in fact, the lady that came over from Boston, she was in the same position, where if patients have had bisphosphonates for a long time, and if it's given intravenously, they can't have dental implants or having any sort of surgery in the mouth, like extractions, can produce this horrible necrosis of the jaw, which is very difficult to manage and treat from a surgical perspective. So I saw a patient from Liverpool recently. He came up to see me, and he has lots of retained roots in the lower arch. He's part dentate in the upper, but in the lower arch, loads of retained roots, bits and pieces, but he can't have those extracted. And he's been given 2 lots of dentures by his dentist. One was just jacked open, and there's just no way. His OVD was just increased too much, so he just couldn't manage with that. Mm-hmm. And then the other denture was so thin it was breaking all the time. So in this circumstance, what we've done is we've made him a full lower overdenture, which has got metal occlusal surfaces. So it's cobalt chrome on all of the biting surfaces. And then on the labial aspect, you've just got the white teeth, just, normal denture teeth. And underneath is a very thin acrylic base, but it's mainly metal that just sits over the remaining teeth. So it's super thin, and it's not jacked him open too much, and he can manage with that. And actually, I've supplied him with 2 lower dentures, which are virtually identical. So Rowan's made him 2. So he can wear one on a Monday, swap it over the next one on a Tuesday, and keep alternating these dentures so that when one breaks or requires repair, he's got another one there that is comfortable and he can wear it. And then Rowan can repair the denture without having to knock his pan out.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Is that a common type of patient you see?
No, it isn't really, no, but it's increasingly common. So that leads me on to other patients that I see is increasingly it's patients who've had multiple rounds of implant treatment, like all on 4, all on 6 type approaches that have failed. And then it leaves a huge defect. The ridge height is really small, shallow, so it requires some really, really good removable prosthetics, really good dentures to replace that missing tissue and for the patient to be able to function as well. So, and often the only solution for these patients is either going like zygomatic implants or having a really good denture. And quite often they're reluctant to have further implants just because of past failure. So this is another group that I'm seeing increasingly. And really quite challenging, but also quite rewarding too. And then I've got other patients who are your sort of standard complete denture patients that just want something that looks really good, just looks like natural teeth. They're sick of having piano keys or just really straight white.
Yeah.
Straight white, boring teeth, or maybe someone's made a comment to them, where did you get your dentures done, or something like that in the shop, and they just want to have something done that's really nice. So so that's another group of patients. But the majority, I'd say about 70% of my patients are part dentate, so they are requiring just really, really superb metal-based dentures to replace multiple missing teeth.
Wow. Seems like you're the go-to fix-it guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is the end of the road, actually, to a certain extent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, Jeremiah, how do you hear about a guy from the UK doing difficult cases?
Well, actually, I've heard about Dr. Sutton here for a long, long time, part of the DTG with other associates and colleagues from Arian to Eugene to some of these other people. Really started introducing him to me on Facebook. And really from there, it was kind of awe-inspiring to see the level of documentation that would happen. And just for someone in my particular situation and I kind of love what, Finlay said about starting off early and thinking you know your thing until you step into the real world and finding out that there's just simply challenges that no one really taught you were going to be there.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's been that way. I mean, if I'm honest with the world, as a laboratory technician, I've been a technician since I could walk. This is some second generation. My parents did nothing but. So I kind of came into the whole being a provider as hey, I know my stuff, right? I got this licked. I go through the college process. Oh, no problem at all. And then you start seeing some of your real first patients and you start realizing the limitations and challenges that the real world truly presents. So I would start really trying to follow Dr. Sutton's protocols to some degree. I mean, I wouldn't try to let's be honest, I would try to replicate them. I mean, everything I saw, I was trying to learn. I was trying to use the same materials and just do whatever I could to improve, because definitely as a technician, I felt that everything should be perfect. My model should be ideal. Everything should just be perfect. And when I didn't get perfect from my providers, I kind of balked at it, to be honest with you. And then becoming a provider, you really start to try to understand that, hey, there's just challenges that aren't in the books. So following his protocols, and they worked. They worked. A little while ago, for the very first time, I did a dual impression on an upper immediate denture that someone had severely mobile teeth. And I never talked to Finlay about this. I just saw his techniques and documented about how to take an impression, a two-staged impression. And heck, let's go for it. Let's try it. And it worked. And it was just like, holy crap. There's a whole world of knowledge out there that I just don't have that I need. So I followed him for a long time. And then, quite honestly, when me and my wife came up here to Maine, we wanted to get back into doing more educational type of events than what we were doing, because obviously through the pandemic, everything shut down.
Yeah.
So I kind of jokingly told my wife that, and I meant it in a cocky way, but with the expectation that it would never happen. And I said, I'm going to throw Finlay an email and see if he wants to come over here and speak for us, do a lecture for us. And she said, yeah, right, whatever, go for it.
Why would he want to go to Maine?
Yeah. And, I'm no one that he knows. We've never talked on the phone. We've never really done work together. In my mind, I'm just a stranger to him. Why would he even trust me to set something of this nature up? So anyway, I went ahead and developed the email, sent it out to him, and he replied very quickly, and he was all on board for it. And it's just kind of honestly on my end been a little mind-blowing, because I have what I call my dental bucket list. And he is really, really high up on that bucket list of educators that I would want to hear from and be taught from. So it's just been like this roll of, emotions and, honestly, excitement, thinking about making this happen and lining this up, and then trying to get other denturists and other providers out there to take advantage of the knowledge that is out there. And it really is out there, but the knowledge that I need at this point in time in my life, and maybe I'll feel wrong differently about this in a couple of years, but at this point, I need to step away from the books so much, and I need to start getting into more real life situations. So even one of the most awesome things I think about this course offers people coming up in August of next year is the fact that we are going to be using a live patient. Not just a slide lecture. We're going to be using a live patient, and we all get to sit there and truly watch Finlay's protocols, from everything from how he talks to a patient, his mannerisms around a patient. I'm interested in things that people aren't even probably thinking about, like, what is his body position when he's taking an upper impression? Where does he stand? Where does he hold himself around a patient if he's trying to do this? There's all kinds of those things that I am just so super excited to see and to watch. So yeah, no, this is going to be super exciting.
Wow. They don't teach you that in school, Jeremiah? Where to stand?
They do. They do. They have... they have YouTube videos of this and that, but once again, you get someone in a wheelchair, or you get someone that
won't sit still.
Yeah, will sit still. Exactly. I get people that have Parkinson's disease, or they have different challenges, and
sure.
So the basics of education absolutely have to be there. We have to have the foundation. But once you have the foundation, then you start realizing that it truly was just a foundation, and it was not a mastery of the industry.
Well, that's true on even technician side. We talk about when people go to technician school that they're working on the perfect preps and the perfect models.
Absolutely.
And then they get into a lab.
Yeah. And nothing's perfect.
And you can't see the margin. And there's not enough space, to your point, Finlay. So.
That's true. I think that's really, really important. I loved what you said, Jeremiah. It's just fantastic. And I just feel really, really honoured to be able to, the fact that the world is so global now, so you can see what I'm doing straight away and vice versa. So we can just share our knowledge. So everything I do is just built on other people's work that's just fantastic. Like Dr. Abe in Japan, and a chap called John Besford, who was one of the best British denture-making dentists, who's still my mentor. He's just fantastic. But it's just wonderful watching an expert work, just watching them do it, particularly when you're at a point where you're actually doing it yourself properly. So, because when you're at school, you can't really put yourself in that position of actually being in reality doing it. But actually, when you are physically at, you work as a dentist or work as a technician, you're actually doing the job. That's when you can really pick up stuff when you're watching other people do it. So I can't wait, Jeremiah, to see that patient in Maine and do some impressions and demonstrate my body position and what I'm doing. We'll have to have a knee brake chair, Jeremiah, so they'll just on a normal chair with a headrest. Yeah. And I can it'll just be fantastic. So I'm looking forward to it. So we're going to be doing impression making and also carving the wax rim, copying a photograph of the patient when they had their natural teeth as well. So mimicking, trying to carve that rim, imagining that patient having the natural teeth there. So doing all those steps with that. And also, in addition, I think something that's really useful in prosthetic dentistry is to record CR really accurately using a Gothic arch tracing system, the central bearing apparatus. So that's also something I want to be showing in May next year too. Can't wait.
So Finlay, when Jeremiah reached out to you, did you have any idea who he was? He's like a legend in our industry over here in the States.
Not really.
Come on, man, I'm trying to suck up. But seriously, have you ever heard of him, or did you know of him?
Yes, I'd heard of Jeremiah, but I didn't know how big of a deal he was in America at all. So no, but do you know what? I just love America. I love the USA. My parents lived there 1969 to 1970. They lived in Chicago. Wow. And my dad loved it, but my mum was homesick. So they actually came back to England, and I could have been American. I was conceived in Chicago.
Oh, that's close.
They flew back in February, and I was born in April. So my dad always had a love of the States, and so have I. And this will be the first time. Well, no, actually, I'm speaking in Las Vegas next month, which I'm super excited about. But this will be my first proper 2-day conference that I'll be doing in Maine next year. So I'm just super excited about it, and bringing the whole family over, having a holiday. It'd just be terrific.
And you're going to Maine.
Maine's beautiful.
It
Elvis.
is beautiful. I'm
Come
just
on.
joking.
It is. It's it's August in Maine. I mean, really, in terms of having the most beautiful weather in Maine, you can't argue with August.
Heck no.
Absolutely. I've been to the Adirondacks in 1990, and that was just wonderful, New York State, and it was just fantastic. And that was August. It was just so beautiful. And what I remember is just so many trees.
Oh, yeah. So, Doctor, how many courses are you putting on now in the UK? Or do you have like a course every 6 months? Or
I run 6 courses a year
wow.
up here in Lancaster, and then I'm all over doing. So I'm talking about my home courses in Lancaster. I run where I have a patient that comes in, and then we've got a really small group of people, maybe 15 delegates just watching. So there's a complete denture course that I run, immediate dentures, partial dentures, and implant overdentures. So they're really small groups with a patient there. It's terrific. And then usually about once a month, I'll be traveling somewhere, go to London or Glasgow or somewhere elsewhere to do some teaching as well. So it's I love it. I really love sort of showing what I'm doing and sharing, and hopefully just increasing the quality of dentures that are done in Britain, and hopefully the rest of the world. It's really good fun. I love it.
So is it geared towards mostly dentists, or do you include the dental technician? And if so, does Rowan work with them as well, or show them any of his techniques?
Yes, he does. So when they come up to the course, when I run the complete denture course, Rowan is part of that.
Wow.
And so we get the delegates to set up the upper anterior teeth for a patient. So we have all the wax rims already. So we'll have 15 wax rims and all the teeth ready, and then a photograph of the patient. And then the delegates arrange the teeth, and then they try them in the patient's mouth. So we get a number of different types of delegates. They are mainly dentists, but generally each course will have we call them clinical dental technicians, denturists. We'll have at least 1 or 2 on each of the courses.
Wow.
And occasionally, which I think is really good, is we have a technician that comes with their dentist.
Wow.
They come together and can learn together. So I particularly love teaching CDTs, denturists. I love it because they've got both feet in both camps,
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
and I think we have, the clinical dental technicians in Britain has increased quite a lot recently, and they definitely make way better dentures than the average dentist. Much better. So they're offering a better service to those people. So I'm on all of their forums, and I'm almost like a honorary denturist, really.
So why do you think that's increased as of late? More technicians getting into that part of it.
I think it's just since they were able to legally do it. And I think we've got to be really honest about it as dentists. I think most dentists hate making dentures.
Yeah.
Not all of them will admit that, but it's
Many will admit it, though.
Yeah. Here they will, anyways.
Absolutely. So I think that it's just it's a new branch of dentistry, and it's growing, and it will continue to grow. The weird thing is that although dentures are, less, there's a reduced percentage of the population requiring dentures, the population as a whole is growing. So actually, there are more denture patients out there than there ever were before, even though the percentage is dropping in terms of people that have dentures. So there's still a massive need for it. And I can only see that carrying on for a long time, because dental disease, it's still there. Periodontal disease, caries, it's just still a big issue.
And people losing their teeth and needing to treat that.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the course exactly. So that's August of 2023. So we're still a good year out, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. What does somebody need to do to look into it, to sign up for it? And what exactly are they getting themselves into?
All right, so let me give you a little bit of a rundown of the time, because we're really trying to make this really more of a main event per se than just simply an educational event. And what I mean by that is I know people are going to have to take time off work, and it's expensive. So besides just simply showing up for the course, for people who want to, what we're going to do is offer that previous or that week prior, setting up some tours, maybe some whale watching tours, some lighthouse tours, trying to be sure that the people who do want to come in, maybe 2 or 3 days early, have some setup events, so they don't feel like they're just kind of wandering around the state of Maine, which they're more than welcome to do, but we want to be sure we kind of cater to their time also. So, that's kind of how we're starting it off.
Okay.
Me and Finlay, of course, we're going to have some things to do with the patient ahead of time to be sure we're ready for the course. But the participants themselves are going to have a Friday night reception that me and Amanda are going to hold. And then wake up Saturday morning, and we're going to be all starting the event. I believe it's about 8:30 in the morning on Saturday. So everyone will sit in for Finlay on Saturday and Sunday. And one of the things that we haven't really talked about too much that Dr. Finlay is going to help us out with is RPDs. So let alone the live patient education that's going to happen with the full dentures, the edentulous situation. He will also cover some RPD cases, some information, and of course, anyone who knows me knows I'm really anxious to hear about that aspect of it as well. So what I do have available for anyone at all that wants is I have an email, I have a brochure, I have an outline, a very detailed outline of what each day is going to look like. So, kind of hour by hour, Finlay has provided a little outline to help us understand when and what is going to be accomplished on those 2 days. So from there, anyone at all, I have it on my website, loveyourdenture.com. Anyone can email me. My email is idadenturelove@gmail.com. So it's idadenturelove@gmail.com. And I will send you all that information along with a phone number that they can use to sign up for the course. Now, signing up for the course, what I've done here is also something a little unique. Well, the first couple steps really are not that really unique. We're going to have a pre-registration price of $3,500. And that pre-registration, to acquire the pre-registration, all we're asking is 2 things. One is that someone sign up for the course prior to January 1st, 2023, and put $1,000 down to acquire that pre-registration package. Okay. What we're also doing that is really kind of the unique aspect of this is I know that a lot of providers, and Finlay kind of hinted on it already, which was the lack of communication, that disconnected communication that can happen with the team members involved in someone's treatment. So any provider that wants to pay the initial registration fee also has the choice of bringing an assistant for an additional fee of $750.
Oh, nice.
That assistant
That's not
will
bad.
give, the assistant themselves will get the same exact treatment as any provider would get. There is no you get this but not that. No, everyone will be treated exactly the same.
Are you looking for denturists as well as doctors, or mostly doctors?
I'm looking for really to help out educate. In my world, I think of denturists a lot. Most of the dentists around me, at least a lot of them, refer their removables to me because, just like Finlay said, a lot of them don't find themselves to be highly successful at it, which at the end of the day means that they're not as profitable at it as they are in other scenarios. So they will fill their schedules up more with, crowns, 3-unit bridges, and implant placements and such versus trying to make a partial denture. So denturists, hygienists, doctors, anyone at all that is, I feel, involved in removable prosthodontics on any level has things to learn here.
Yeah.
And that's my big thing. Even though I have openly tried to like literally copy procedurally what Dr. Sutton is doing, I think the most important thing is to be exposed to other high-end individuals and just try to pick up on this technique or that technique, or maybe that person does this thing just slightly differently and it provides that little outcome. So, for me, that's where the big picture is for that, for sure.
Awesome.
So we got the $750 for the assistant.
Would that $750 work if they wanted to bring their technician?
That's a good question, and I'm going to honestly say, yes. Okay, the intention really is more for it to be an assistant, solely because it's important that the provider has their side-by-side assistant understand what they're trying to achieve.
Okay.
But with that said, if a technician, if a provider has a technician that does come in often into the clinician, into the operatory to be a part of that, in my mind, they are an assistant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm not big into denying education. So I just want to, the intention is that whoever is going to be in the operatory with the provider, I'm going to look at as an assistant.
Good.
That makes sense.
So, that's, we want to definitely try to bridge that gap of knowledge so that everyone understands what the end goal is trying to be.
Yep.
So from there, well, we got some other stuff going on too. This is kind of incidental things, but we got the Tooth Fairy, Mackenzie. She has custom designed us a shirt that we're going to use for the show. We're going to try to put all the bells and whistles into everything and make this as the best it possibly can be.
So is there a limit on how many people are going to be at the course?
There is. I've done a lot of thinking about that. And at the end of the day, as much as I don't want to tell someone no, I do want all participants to feel like this is a private enough event so that if they have a question, if they have a concern, whatever it is, that they're going to have time to have it addressed and not just simply get lost into a crowd. So we're thinking about 30 people, all included, is about what we're going to max out at.
How do you guys find a patient, or how do you, Jeremiah, find a patient? Like, what's your delivery in trying to find the right patient and explaining to them, all of these people that are going to be surrounding them, and, how do they deal with it, and what are you looking for in that patient?
That's a great question, Barb. And fortunately for me, I daily meet just amazing people in my practice. And I have been practicing now for, on my own per se for about a year clinically. I've been doing it for about going on 2 years, 3 years now.
Yep.
So I have met people that are just amazing people. They love to help. They are educators in their own field, and they're just amazing characters. So for me, I have honestly a list of people that I'm going to be calling to find out, who really wants to see me be involved. And quite honestly, I'm probably going to have to deny people because they're all going to want to help.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I think what's going to matter the most is the selection of that patient is going to come down to really who has previous photos of their face, who has some of that background information that we need to truly give someone, Finlay can give someone something that is natural to them. And so that's probably going to be where most of my research or most of my due diligence with these patients is going to be, is finding out someone who has enough of past photos to show us what they used to have.
Got it. Which is super important.
Absolutely. I mean, I joke with my patients all the time. I tell them that I'm giving them homework, even though they haven't had homework in 60 years or however long. And their homework is to go home and find me some photos. Whatever they are. I don't care. I don't care if they were a photo of when you were 15 years old. That's fine. That's actually great. So anything. Yeah. Give them homework.
Wow.
That's right. That's great. And that's a credit to you, Jeremiah, because I bet you have a patient almost like every day they'll be willing to do this because you've got such a good rapport with them. And that, in fact, doing dentures is so sociable anyway. So you actually get to know the patients better than when you're drilling, you've got them lying down, drilling the teeth and stuff. If they're sitting up, it's just lovely, and you just get to know them. The dental nurse, the assistant, gets to know them really well. So you won't have any trouble finding a patient. It would be really good.
Yeah, I definitely don't believe I'm going to have any issues with that at all.
No.
And I fully agree with you about the patient relationship. That is one of the aspects that you read about in a book going through the schooling process. But when you come out in the real world, that hits, at least it's hit me really hard. I spend a lot of time with my patients, and I probably don't see more than 5 or 6 patients a day. Do that 3 days a week, and it's common for me to spend an hour, hour and a half with each patient. And it's important to know who they are in and out of their professional lives, and you become connected. And it is. I mean, I can't tell you how often things happen to our patients that emotionally affects us, and it doesn't even have anything to do with dentures whatsoever.
Yeah.
And it does. You become part of these people's lives, and it's a very rewarding thing.
Absolutely.
So, Finlay, are you going to meet this patient before, or is the whole course going to be you meeting the patient the first time?
No, I'll meet the patient beforehand, but literally, a couple of days before. So it just means that what we'll need to do is to have some various pieces of lab work ready so that I can do a primary impression, and then we'll have the custom trays ready, and I can do the trays and do the rims, etc. So I'll meet the patient first, and it would be just nice to get a rapport with them before, I see that patient in front of the 30 people. But I do this all the time at running the course. In fact, I'm running a course next week here in Lancaster, and there's 15 delegates, and I have a complete denture patient that comes in to do that for us, called Keith. And Keith loves it. He's got a great photo of when he was at school with his teeth, and one of his upper right central was tipped back and crossed over. So we've made him complete dentures like that, and he just loves the whole experience of it. Even the people, I get all the delegates to get the phones out and film it. They can film me doing the impressions, and so they've got it for themselves to take away. And the patients love it. They really enjoy the whole process. It's really good fun.
Well, how many sets of dentures does Keith have at this point?
He's got 5 currently. So, but we have all the different stages just ready, you see. So we've got like the try-in ready, and then the finished dentures, etc. So, it's great. He loves it.
So does every one of the students try their wax-up dentures or the finished dentures in his mouth?
They do if they want to. I think it's
Wow.
I don't insist on it because some of them may be a little bit embarrassed about
Yeah.
the setup, but I encourage it if they really want to. So they pop it in the patient's mouth, and do you know what? The delegates are really good at it, even though they've probably never done it since dental school. And I think they find that if the rim is carved correctly, it's just a matter of putting the teeth on it. And that's one of the things that dentists, certainly in Britain here, that when they send the rims to the technician, that quite often they haven't been trimmed. So the technician's guessing to know where the teeth are going to go. So I just have a really simple prescription system of trimming the rim, going from getting the lip support right first, then the incisal plane, and then the occlusal plane, and then buccal corridors, and then centerline, and then the OVD. And it's just a nice step-by-step process. And if we've got really good dentate pictures, particularly if we've got a really good smiling one front on, and also if we've got them at as when they had the natural teeth at rest position, so we've got the lip support, and then the rim can be carved according to that too. So all different angles. So I'd love to get the patients doing the homework, just like Jeremiah said. I said that to the lady yesterday. I want you to go and do your homework. Get in the loft, get in the attic, go and find your photographs, please, of when you were, at school, please, or wedding albums, stuff like that. It's just brilliant.
So both of you are going to be at the National Denturist Association in a couple weeks from this recording. I don't even know if I'll be able to get this recording out before that event happens, but
And that's in Vegas?
yeah, that's in Vegas. What are you talking about there? Both of you are going to be there, right?
Yeah, we are. So I'm doing a 2-hour lecture, and it's going to cover complete dentures, RPDs, and implant overdentures. It's really clinical. It's just going to be like a whistle-stop tour of exactly what I do for my patients. So just step by step. I don't mess about. So I don't talk about studies or scientific papers. I just show cases from start to finish, so that hopefully the delegates, as soon as they get back to work on Monday, they can put stuff into practice. So I'm really, really excited about it. I can't wait.
Nice. And what are you doing, Jeremiah?
I'm doing an hour lecture on, well, what's listed as RPDs, but I always don't really ever know what I'm truly going to lecture on until like just before the lecture. So I've kind of locked it down in my head, talking about some techniques that I've learned over the years of I haven't been doing it for that many years to be able to say that. So during my short period of existence as a denturist, I should say, I've learned some techniques that work very well for me when I'm dealing with a patient that has a very pronounced gag reflex. And, I'm going to talk about what I do and how I handle those particular situations based on the individual's level of gag reflex. Sometimes you can do things and get away with some stuff. Sometimes you can't. So I'm going to talk about that, and then also talk about partials and my multiple different systems that I have now for taking impressions for people that need partials. I have about 4 different techniques. There's pros and cons to each one, and I'm just going to kind of share what I am currently doing and what I have learned along my way.
Awesome.
And just try to, go from there and hope that maybe, there's someone else that, once again, doesn't look for copy everything that we're necessarily doing, but maybe there's just something I can say or show that will just kind of help clarify something for someone or show them a technique that they can use.
Yeah, nice.
And you guys get to meet for the first time, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Can't
Awesome.
wait. So I'm actually coming over with my wife as well, Rachel. So we've never been to Las Vegas before, so
You're in for a treat.
It's a lot like Maine, I think.
There's a lot to do there, that's for sure.
So, yeah, we're going to have, we've got a week, like 6 days, so it's going to be really good fun. So the conference is right at the end of that. So I'll bring Rachel along to I think there's like a do on the Thursday night, an American sports thing. So that'll be really good fun.
Awesome.
So yeah, can't wait.
That's exciting. I think it's really cool what both of you are doing, bringing this education. We all know the downfalls of the need.
Yeah.
Thank you, Barb. The need for removable education, especially in this country. And I think it's great what you're doing. And Jeremiah, thanks for putting this together.
Yeah.
No, I'm just lucky to have someone like Finlay that agreed to do this, so it's one of those things where you have 1,000 wants and sometimes none of them really happen. And this was one of my wants. It's definitely is a very exciting thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Same here. I'm so pleased about this, coming off. And thank you, Jeremiah, for reaching out to me. I just think it's wonderful how the world is a smaller place now with communication that we can have. It's just fantastic. So yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to it.
I think we lost Elvis because he's got his dogs. Elvis?
No,
Yeah.
Sorry, I was talking. I just forgot I muted. We want to encourage everyone to, register early for this. I mean, 30 is not a lot, and I think there's going to be a lot of interest. And even though, our audience is mostly technicians, I think it would be super smart for any removable technician to check this stuff out.
Oh, and not to mention the fact, sorry to interrupt you, but we probably know dentists that must go to this course to learn, that we could help as technicians. Every one of us knows a dentist.
Yeah, definitely that. And alone, there are technicians more and more now than ever that are chairside with their clinicians who are looking for help.
Yeah.
They're looking to how to identify what's going wrong. Why is my bite not happening for me? Why is this, why can't I get suction on this denture? And so we as technicians, I always classify myself as a technician still to some degree, are there to help people with these problems and be a solution. So I would fully agree. Here's a chance for technicians to come in and see a true expert do their thing and then be able to bring that knowledge back to the chairside challenge for the day.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Well said, sir. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us on this podcast and talking about this exciting venture. We'll make sure all the links are up on the episode show notes. And really, just thank you. All right, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elvis.
Bye.
Thank you, Barb. And thank you.
Bye.
Two dynamic teams have joined forces to rock the intraoral scanning world. Whitmix has added the 3Shape Trios line of scanners to its line of digital solutions for the dental office. Together, this dynamic duo can get your dentist scanning, providing you the reliable scans you need for your lab work. If you're interested in learning more about helping your dentist, head over to tinyurl.com/WhitmixTrios. That's TRIOS. Again, that's the word tiny, url.com/WhitmixTrios. And as always, we appreciate your support of the podcast, Whitmix.
A huge thanks to Jeremiah for not only coming on the podcast again, but for putting on this upcoming course that we know is going to sell out early. And also a big, huge thanks for Finlay for coming on, and the time difference, of course, to tell us about your amazing journey to get where you are and for sharing just a little bit of what you have learned over the years working on so many complicated cases. But everybody, be sure to head over to this episode show notes for information on signing up to learn from these two directly and in person. Also on this episode show notes is a link to sign up for an amazing email newsletter from Dr. Finlay about removable prosthetics. This almost daily email is jammed full of amazing tips and case studies, so wonderful for anybody in dealing with dentures or partials. Check it out.
Awesome, everybody. That's all we got for you, and we will talk to you next week. Bye. I'll do something with that. Thank you. We're done.